Hi Sagittarius, this is your December 2017 horoscope with Milada from Astrolada.com, but it's more than that because I'll be talking about Saturn entering your second house. We'll break it down so you know what to expect for the next 2.5 years till part of 2020. So you can come back to this video over and over to be prepared, you know. And if you want to find out more about Saturn in Capricorn, how it will personally influence you, what personally will be affected in your horoscope, you can check out the webinar Robert Phoenix, a world famous astrologer, is doing with Astrolada. It's 30% off till the 10th of December. After that, it goes from $29 to $39. But this is an astrologer who has lived through Saturn in Capricorn and who worked as an astrologer during Saturn in Capricorn. So he has real life examples how it will work, because Saturn in each sign acts differently, and Saturn was last in Capricorn 29 years ago. So this will be first-hand experience from an amazing astrologer. Do take your seat. I can't wait for that. I'll just give you my perspective, which is more based on transits of other of Saturn over the second house from other ascendant sun or moon signs than Sagittarius, what I've observed in my practice. But if you want, like, how do I say, truth from the source, from someone who's witnessed it, check that webinar. Plus, we're making a webinar with Roman Koliv, which is 2 days. Usually it's sold for $2,500, but he's offering it just for Astrolada for $180 only. This is a huge going down, because people would go to see him personally for $2,500. He does live webinar, live seminar, so to speak, but he's offering it to our viewers for such a small price. And it's in the middle of December, 2 days, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. And we're going to be talking about ancient astrology. You don't even need to know astrology. We're going to be talking through about all the constellations and what it means personally in your horoscope. Say, I am born with the moon in the constellation of Hydra with an astrologer. So we'll go through all the possible constellations and what it personally affects in your horoscope, and what it means. Someone born with the constellation of the dolphin rising, you can say to them, "Oh, are you a swimmer, or do you love dolphins?" And you're like, "I work in a delphinarium, you know, I'm a great swimmer." Or someone rising with the ascendant of with the sun or moon in the constellation of the dragon or snake, they can love snakes. Or someone rising, you know, it's like seeing a mirror image of your life in sky through the constellations. And this is the ancient constellations of Babylon. And how they interpreted them, and this is so relevant for everyone's life nowadays. So this information, it's nowhere out there. We'll be translating directly. Roman Koliv will be translating directly from a manuscript in ancient Greek language. So this information, only you will have it, guys. Whole other astrologers for your personal life. So do check that webinar too. But let's see how Saturn in Sagittarius will affect you, plus how December 2018 will go for you. Well, December 2018 is like a conclusion of the whole Saturn in Sagittarius. Mercury, the planet of information, fact-finding, mental examination, goes retrograde, which means it's about re-examining, which is about checking out your facts and recapitulating and repeating the lessons of the past 2.5 years. And it goes retrograde in your sign Sagittarius most of December. So it's almost like it to be a throwback to the past and looking at how life affected you in the past 2.5 years. The new beginnings, maybe something will come back from the past a little bit to be revised, to be renewed, to be re-examined, to be corrected and edited, or maybe you'll be just doing big retrospective on the big beginnings that you started over the past 2.5 years, because Saturn was in your first house. It was all about new beginnings, which can be quite testing, which is considered periods in life when Saturn transit your ascendant sign or rising or moon if you're Sagittarius. Often painful separations happen, so we can become our own person, so we can come into more autonomy, so we are forced to build new foundations in life. It's Saturn transiting the first house is compared to person giving labor, being in labor and giving birth to a child, which can be quite painful, but it builds some foundation. delivered a baby, you started a new life phase, a new cycle. Many Sagittarius I know either started the businesses, changed their line of work, their whole life changed. Some of them divorced, started new, having to develop a new identity. It was about building from the bottom a new identity. It's a lengthy, it might have been quite painful process for many of you, but it was worth it. And it was, you are ready now to consolidate this new identity. And now in December, you'd see kind of, you'd almost like reaffirm to yourself these new beginnings that you started. You might see the results of those new beginnings that you started in the past years. You might see the consequences, because Saturn is coming out of your first house and tends to give a gift to us depending on how well we did our job in regards to the new beginning Saturn required from you, and the self-discipline and structure. And this time might have been, the past 2.5 years, quite tough for many Sagittarius, because Saturn is an energy that is not very, how do I say, it's not very similar to Sagittarius. Sagittarius is about opportunities and growth and expansion, and Saturn might have slowed all this down. Yes, it gave you new beginnings, but laboriously, with effort, and in a much more testing way. And now Saturn leaving your sign can give you a gift finally for the efforts that you made, for you to start seeing the results of those foundations you're building, finally for you to start seeing the rest of the structure of that house you're building, metaphorically, what it's bringing you. And you might have to work in December very hard with your skills in something, maybe doing renegotiating, talking with someone from the past coming to you, especially past relationships, because Mercury rules your 7th house. Mercury rules your 10th house as well of career, maybe working on some project requiring your skills, a lot of communication, speaking, writing, editing, certain things. But it's almost like a culmination of this 2.5-year period where the old karma is ending, you're completing something, you're ending it, and from Christmas onwards, you know, you're starting a brand new beginning. Like the fog starts lifting, or the heavy weight from Saturn in your sign starts lifting. You start feeling much more yourself, more enlivened, more brighter, more optimistic, you know, which was probably something that was not, optimism was not much easily available for the past couple of years. But now the heavier structuring, disciplining, and karmic influence of Saturn lifts, and now you're gonna, well, Saturn is in your 2nd house for the next 2.5 years, you're gonna be asked to your resources. You're gonna be asked to, whatever you build, to protect it better, to take better care of it, whatever new you build, to take better care of it, and all things that you're still hanging on to, especially material things like possessions, like clothes, like, you know, self identity, like, oh, this is my style, this is my wardrobe, this is me, you know, to get rid of that. Maybe you've been hoarding clothes or shoes, or, you know, for years. Now Saturn wants you to streamline your possessions and to and your resources in some way, to be more organized, more disciplined, more structured with them, rather than just keep a lot of junk, you know. So a lot of people just get rid of things that are no longer necessary, or if they're resisting that, the universe takes those things away from them. Why? So you can make space for new things to come into your life, for you to build new material manifestations. In the last 2.5 years, you're building new foundations overall in your life, whether it's businesses, whether it's your identity, a new personality, new life on your own, new life with a new family or whatever. Now it's going to be about what the things that you possess, that you put in your body as well to support you, that make who you are, or that you identify with by, you know, because we often identify with our possessions, the 2nd house. And Saturn will essentials here, and the things that will actually support you on this new path you have started. So a lot of old junk will go out, and you'll gradually build. It's not fast, but gradually you get new possessions, new style of fashion. Even the 2nd house is that, the new look, even, or a new that. But you do it gradually, slowly, and you don't just go all out, you know, and buying everything out there. Saturn does not allow you to be your resources. Saturn wants you to carefully select more quality things rather than big quantities. Want you to be more selective and discriminative in regards to your possessions, in regards to your resources. And in order for you to do that, it might pinch your resources. Because Saturn is about quality, not quantity. It restricts quantity. Big amounts of food, big amounts of clothes, possessions will be removed from your life, or you will remove them, or you will be distancing yourself from them. You'll have way more self-discipline to regulate also your food intake, to regulate the quality and the nutritional value of your food, to choose things that are based on more wisdom that you put in your body and that you put in your wardrobe and that you put in your house and possessions, rather than based on amounts, you know. So better quality clothes, but tested and tried, more like maybe even traditional, and also food that is nutrient dense rather than calorie full with no nutrition. And to do that, Saturn might bring some issues, you know, like your old possessions starting to break down, or just not servicing you anymore, or just losing your possessions and wardrobe, so you can do ones that are based on better, more priorities that will support this new identity, these new beginnings you've started. So basically, sometimes you can become nutrition very deficient, and well, Saturn is in the second house, so it brings to you the issue of what you're putting in your body, so you can start regulating it and controlling it better with more self-discipline, which is what Saturn wants. And that's fantastic time to change your diet if you want to do something healthier and something simpler. Saturn is about simplicity. So no fat diets. If you're changing a diet, it's going to be for life, for many, and gradually. You're not going to lose weight with 10-day fasting. You can do fast, or you can incorporate intermittent fasting every month or every week for a day, for 24 hours that you don't eat, and that can be part of this new, more austerity regime of food intake, for example. Or you can regulate how much clothes and shoes you buy. Before, you were never paying attention to your bills and how much you spend. Now, circumstances, or you will force yourself to be more thrifty, more organized, more disciplined with your resources. Some people might be saving in regards to resources because, you know, and Saturn in Capricorn tends to give its easier manifestation, more positive ones. It's not gonna, Saturn in Capricorn doesn't want to leave you destitute and poor. After all, in the past 2.5 years, you've worked very hard for a new beginning, and Saturn doesn't want to take it away from you. Just the opposite. Saturn wants you to consolidate it, to strengthen it, and just to leave the one what supports these new beginnings, the things that support these new beginnings. So, you know, my advice for you is, when Saturn is in the second house over the next 2.5 years, create, protect what you have built, strengthen it, solidify your resources, be more cautious with your resources, don't be wasteful with them. Saturn does not like wastefulness. But also, if you're in the other extreme spectrum, if you're someone who is a miser, who just keeps to everything they possess, he's all the time fearful about money, about resources, Saturn will escalate those fears. Saturn will escalate those scarcities, and it will remove things from you. So again, Saturn wants elegance. Wherever it goes, it wants elegance, it wants efficiency, it wants to streamline things, and it wants practicality. So it will remove all illusions about resources, about money, about possessions in your life. Remove all such which are not necessary, and leave you only with the most functional, structural possessions that are useful for you for the future as well. It can also make you more conservative, and it's good for you to be more conservative with your spending habits. Don't invest your money in crazy endeavors that are not tested, that promise you fast profits. Now it's about investing in something that is established, that's traditional, something that gives small but regular return back, something that it can pay you back in a few years from now rather than immediately. Immediate returns are not there. It's good just to invest for something in the future as well. You can invest in property or things that are more stable as well. rather than more risky. And many people are spending money or saving money during that time, for example, because they want to go to university or pay off a property or start up a business of some sort. And that's the best time actually to save. Saturn in Capricorn will help you do that. But of course, if there are certain restrictions to your finances, it's because Saturn is a regulator. So if you've been too wasteful or irresponsible or infantile with your resources and finances, Saturn will really slow down things in regards to your resources. So it will freeze matters of resources and money, so you can really examine those behaviors. And you have 2.5 years almost to do that and change them and restructure them and learn to be more self-sufficient and to budget better. I had someone who had Saturn transiting the second house, and he had divorced recently, and he was saying, what I'm most fearful about is how am I going to pay the mortgage now? My wife doesn't pay the mortgage. And Saturn in the second house showed him that not only can he pay the mortgage, but actually he's able to save more. Before, his wife was spending without him being aware a lot more. And now he was able to, he proved himself, he can be organized, he can be financially very responsible and organized. Actually, he can save more, he can pay his home mortgage as well. So it's kind of maturation that by the end of this process makes you feel proud of how, yes, you have to restrict yourself. Yes, you have to reorganize. Yes, you have to be more ordered and responsible. And these are things we don't usually want to learn easily. We have to be forced into them, but you kind of feel so proud. Anything that you've put personal efforts into, you feel much more proud, and it's much more long lasting. Just like people who win the lottery. If you win the lottery, often within a year or two, you might have lost all this money. You have spent it, you don't know how to manage it, you didn't put the effort into making this money. You didn't even give it the satisfaction, maybe for a little bit, but they end up bankrupt, because their consciousness was not ready for that amount of money. They didn't know how to manage it and regulate it. But when Saturn transits the second house, it might be preparing you how to manage and regulate your resources better. And by the time it ends, trick yourself financially in some way, and be more disciplined. The results are lasting. You can keep that new habits of how you handle resources and money and the energy you put in your body, which is food as well, in a much more mature way, and it lasts you this new knowledge, this wisdom that you gain. And I've seen even people consciously restrict themselves. For example, someone who takes a pay cut because they want to be in a better company, because they want to be in a position that is more authentic for them, so they're willing for a year, to take a bit less, or maybe they have to study so they can work a bit less, so they take a cut back, and they learn to regulate their money more. And if you already have lots of money, maybe you just learn how to structure them better, to regulate them better, or maybe it's a time of saving and investing in something that will pay off long term. But Saturn in the second house does materialize. So by the end of this process, you'd have more solidified resources. And also it can give you returns back, something in the past that was long-term, say 15 years, or property that you've bought many years ago. Now it has Saturn is something all that can actually now manifest materially. If you've been wise with your resources, Saturn will give you in the past, and you invest it in something that takes a long time to give returns. Saturn over the next 2 years can actually show you the results of those wise investments. If you've been not wise with your resources, I know people in the 60s and 50s, they take their salary, they spend it by the middle of the month, and they might be spending it on helping poor children or on giving away to those in need, but they always, if they get fired, they'll be on the street, And now you're learning, Saturn will allow you to learn how to regulate that, so you are not dependent on others, so you're not, so you're you create safety net materially around you, and learn to be respectful of money. And also Saturn will give more reality in regards to your self-worth. Some people value themselves too high. They want to get a salary of 100,000 once they graduate university, whatever. They think, oh, my services are so much higher. Well, Saturn will humble you and show you reality according to the economic situation currently. Or others, they undervalue themselves. They don't want to take for their services. They don't feel deserving, or they don't feel like the self-worth and self-value is low, and that's how others would treat them as well. So Saturn frame freezes this again, makes you be more aware, maybe makes it more painful. So you start analyzing it and understanding it, so it can be a good time to take course, get rich, or how to value yourself more, how to appreciate yourself more, because second house rules both how you value yourself and how much money you have, because the way you value yourself, this is usually how much you'd receive from the universe, you know, or how others will appreciate you. But some people can overvalue yourself, and Saturn wants to regulate those extremes. Either you undervalue yourself, so Saturn in the second house allows you to realize you're more worthy, that to base your self-worth on something that is more stable, and to build up a foundation that creates more self-worth in you. While those who overvalue themselves, Saturn brings them back to the earth, or those who are unrealistic with resources and money, Saturn shows you the consequences of your actions. All of a sudden you realize that you're 45 and you have no savings, and if your husband leaves, you'll be left with no money, you know, or something like that, and it makes you become try to find other resources, work hard to achieve them, and it will take a couple of years to develop that or to start really seeing the results. So that's my advice for you, Sagittarius. It's not scary. If anything, by the end of this process, you can have much more structured, much more savings even. If you're someone who knows how to do Saturn, which is to do a bit of austerity, to do a bit of streamlining, removing the unnecessary, not spending on frivolities, investing in the right way. And if you've been wise with money before, it will be rewarding. It'll be like seeing the results of or if you're very irresponsible with resources, it will be a bit of a tougher period, but you'll learn the lessons and you'll move forward better, with better skill set that you keep for life. So that's my horoscope for you, Sagittarius. Do check out the webinar Saturn in Capricorn with Robert Phoenix in December, and also Ancient Babylonian Astrology, 14 hours with Rumen Kolev and me. And I will see you next month. Thank you.